welcome back to Weebology. I am your, tired-ish perfecto rookie, but I'm here. I'm showing up.
I'm tired as fuck. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I've been running and biking and doing all those things, man.
You were
trying to get back into old Ethan shape.
Good for you. Yeah, I was at a wedding this past weekend, and 2 ceremonies, one Indian and one Christian. And I gotta tell you, man, Indian formal wear. I was telling you before we started recording, they have it right. No blazers, no ties, no bow tie bullshit. One layer, maybe a scarf if you're a baller. Guess who had a scarf? This guy. And yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. And it was glad that I wore that because it was like 90 fucking degrees outside.
It was outside.
Oh, it was all outside. Whole thing.
Oh, that sounds
Both
awful.
ceremonies all day. It was like we were up for maybe 24 hours because I got up at like 6. Yeah, to get I had to get there at like 8:30. First thing started at like 10. Then the other one started at like 2.
What
and then dinner, and then dancing, then after party. It was a lot, man. It's a lot of work, but it was a really good time, man. I want to wear like Indian formal wear for everything. Like business meetings, fuck it, kurta, easy.
Yeah,
with the scarf,
slap that sucker on there.
Oh, dude, and you look so sleek, so svelte. Even it's better. It's just a better way to dress.
It's like that. This I don't even want to call it a suit, but it's like what I had to wear to my friend's African wedding.
Yeah, I'm at kind of
it's
very similar.
Just like sort of dress pants and then like a zip up, like long sleeve, but like thin.
Yes,
kind
almost
of not
skirtish,
yeah.
But yeah, right. But and the pants, basically pajama pants. It's drawstring at the belly button. Like it felt great.
That sounds pretty sick.
It was pretty sick. I was much more comfortable, and everyone changed into a suit for the second.
Silk?
One of them was. One of them was not. One of them actually was very itchy. But for the second one, everyone changed into suit and tie for the Krishna ceremony. I'm like, nah, baby, scarf. And everyone's like, damn it, that sounds right. It's like 3:30, 95,000 degrees outside, and everyone's sweating their ass off, and I'm over here just chilling.
In
straight
a scarf?
Chill. In a scarf, baby. No tie, just scarf.
Fair enough.
It's scientifically more important. And just better all around.
It's easy breezier.
Easy and breezier. But speaking of scientific, like that segue? I like it too.
He's back.
He's back, baby. We're back. Yeah, so we're talking about the second season of a very, very critically acclaimed first season show, Dr. Stone.
And critically acclaimed by us.
By us as well. So
the true professors.
Right. The ones whose ratings matter and are always accurate.
Of
always
course.
on point.
I don't think I've ever gotten a question wrong on anything.
Nope. No subjectivity here.
Don't
True objective fact in the lab. But season 2 of Dr. Stone, kind of an interesting pivot. They went in a direction I did not expect. And
well,
yeah,
you had to have expected it a little bit, right?
I guess we did. Stone Wars, right? We knew that was coming. We knew basically it was just to be this heated conflict for the entire second season. But it felt like it had less science, but more heart in the way I describe it.
Yeah, I would say this was more of a clash of philosophies than it was like, let's do fun
science experiments.
I guess basically it was save Ruri's life in the first season, right? That was the most important.
Right.
And like build up and save this Ishigami village.
Mm-hmm.
And then second season it was like, get back to like where we started, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. But there's a couple implications and end results for having this pivot. The central conflict or the overcoming hurdle of the first season was the draw of the show as a whole, right?
Right.
Use science as your power system. Information is king. They didn't necessarily go away from that in season 2. Information was still king in a much more literal sense, but it was, I don't know, it felt like it got away from what drew people into the show initially. It moved away from that in a way that I guess you and I were kind of talking, like it was a little less engaging in the first season. At least maybe now it didn't have what we wanted, right?
Yeah. So first off, super spoilers, season 2, like all of it, okay?
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you haven't seen season 1, then why are you listening to a review about season 2?
We have a season 1 episode. Go listen to that and come on back. You're still in the lab. It's no big deal. It's fine.
Right? It should be easy.
Easy peasy.
But anywho, I think it's the way they decided to, quote unquote, essentially trick them. Like trick the dummies. That was their main plan for like 90% of this season.
And it wasn't a bad plan. If anything, it was a smart play.
It's kind of fucking dumb.
In what way? Why do you think it's dumb?
Like, I'll tell you exactly why I think it's dumb.
Okay.
Because Tsukasa is apparently a super genius and literally knows everything.
Yeah, they made him
too smart.
He's too smart, right? But as the antagonist of Senku, as the main, opposing force, to fight fire with fire, you have to kind of elevate him out of nowhere mentally, intelligently. And you're right. It felt very out of place that he went from, he's supposed to be the Empire of Might's king, right? And also somehow kind of like a boy that is smart, second only to Senku out of nowhere.
So here's how I think they fix that, right? Like, I think they combine some of Ukyo's skills, like his sonar hearing, and maybe just like really good instincts. Like, say he could just tell when somebody's lying, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, because they have all these kind of new introductory characters,
right?
And Tsukasa basically wakes up the people he knows that would be, useful to him.
Which weird as hell, by the way. We'll get to that in a second.
We'll get that in a second. But as a counterpoint to that, would giving him all the skills of these individuals not kind of have the same effect of somehow out of nowhere making him as intelligent as he was made to be in the second season? He already seems too perfect.
No. Right. I know, but I think it feels more realistic that he's like honed his weird senses and stuff like that over years and years of fighting than it would be for a cage fighter to also know about nitroglycerin and nitric acid, like all this random stuff, right?
That's a good point, because I'm saying
they're obviously going to use a steam engine. What are you talking about? That
seems like a pretty strange logical leap.
I literally knew it was going to happen, and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of a negative that they had to make him, but to the end. Okay,
he's clairvoyant.
He is clairvoyant, but
that's bad.
I think it was all in service to make us kind of feel sympathetic for him at the end of the season in the way that the story made us want, right? But in doing that, you made this very unrealistic character. Where season 1, he was a badass. He had a philosophy. He had the power to kind of enact on it and execute it, at least to some degree. But then season 2, they kept pushing the boundary of who this man as Tsukasa is, and you're kind of right. You've made him too perfect. He's too good of a boy. He's too good. Someone like him wouldn't exist, even though Senku.
He's just so
Yeah,
we'll have many minutes to talk about him at the end, but I feel like he's just so freaking flip-floppy, and like he keeps saying, "Well, my goal is still the same," but it's like, no, it isn't.
Not really anymore, right? His goals definitely changed by the end of the season.
And so I think we should leave him till the end, because that's kind of like really becomes a culmination of the whole season.
And he's worth the dissection, but you're right. Where we are at the beginning of this season is war has been declared in season 1. We knew we had a limited time frame, the Kingdom of Science and Senku's crew, to basically get back to the cave where the what is it called? What's the actual
It's nitric acid.
Nitric
but
acid.
They're just calling it miracle water.
Miracle water, right. But this nitric acid can unpetrify people. So he who controls the cave in every sense kind of controls the world as it goes forward, right?
Save the cave, save the world.
Save the cave, save the world, baby. Some hero shit. And it is. And that's kind of I did like that they had a very singular mission. It was very clear, it was cut, it was clean. Get to the cave, control the cave, but don't kill anybody. This is a bloodless stone war, according to Senku and the promises that he had to make.
Well, he was going to do that anyway. He had kind of said that before, but then he was like throughout the season trying to steal people onto his side from Tsukasa's army, which I wouldn't think would be that difficult considering like some of the leisures and like good things he can offer the
Yeah,
other
boy,
side.
we got ramen, cotton candy, and penicillin. Like,
kind of
what-
seems like this is the better side to be on.
it really
guys.
is.
I have a fucking tank with carbon shielding.
Yeah. What do you have? Oh, that's right, a cave.
A spear made out of a rock, a
Right.
sharp rock.
Right. So I mean, yeah, I like the setup. The setup for this season was pretty good, but the focus wasn't on the science, and it's about right now we got to bring it up. There's not kind of it bookends with scientific advancement, but the core crux of this season. Put yourself, we all know the shoes of the viewers that are listening right now. You watch season 1, you're all about that science, very interesting hook, very unique kind of show, and you come back for season 2 and you want more of that to be more elevated versions of the science, different twists and subversions, and then you didn't really get that. You had a human conflict. You didn't have scientific things that were overcome. You did kind of, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's tough because, like, what I want is basically a survival show, but, like,
right.
I don't think that that's probably necessarily intriguing to the rest of the world, like, universally, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Use science to survive. I don't think everyone else would like that, but
sure,
it's probably more widely appealing to have, like, a human conflict.
And I think that's what the season served, to kind of make the show more robust as a whole, which is fine. And I see what they did, and I think they pulled it off pretty well. It just wasn't what I personally, the professor, wanted, right?
Well, I actually think it was a huge slap in the face to a lot of ideologies, which I loved. Because it's just kind of like a huge middle finger is the way I saw it, to, like, either people that thought, like, only the elite should survive, or other people that said, basically, to save this planet, we need to get rid of humans. Like, whereas Senku is the direct foil to that, saying, no, if you have more humans there to help each other, like, come up with a new solution to a problem, that is the ultimate superior option.
Right. And
so it was like, I just felt like I loved it. I was like just grinning there. I'm like, yeah, get him, fucking Senku.
Get him, dude.
Because those people exist that have these, like, absolutely dumb ideas of how to save the world.
True. And I think it's kind of, I don't know if it meant to do this or will to explore this more explicitly in the future, but there is almost this adherence to science in this show as a philosophy, thanks to season 2, that can be bordering, if not kind of living in fanaticism. Putting any one system of belief, be it religion, science, or otherwise, like, exalted above all others, you are kind of out of whack. You're out of kilter. Like, to have other systems of beliefs, at least given its time and day, then you kind of have this more holistic view of the world. Whereas whether one side won or the other side did, it's saying that there is one true soul belief that works for the world, which that is more of a dangerous game, right?
Well,
what can science not do is what I want them to talk about.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think that that's actually what Senku's after at all.
No, but
because he's I think very clearly shown that he has to rely on all these people to get this stuff done. And it's a sense of community that he's really looking for.
Yeah.
And he's saying is what's necessary to revive this world, right? He needs Taiju to do all the tasks that his frail ass body can't do.
He's a thin boy.
You know? And then, his conversation with Tsukasa at the end, who would you take with you, if you had to go on a rocket ship?
Yeah.
And then he wasn't, included. That's exactly what, this show is about, right? Setting people up to be able to do it themselves and to also be, like, smart and ingenuity driven.
And I think that my commentary on that meta commentary on
innovative.
Innovative, yes.
What's that guy's name from Apple?
Steve Jobs, Tim Cook.
No.
Oh, John Ivey.
Yeah.
Innovative
touch.
I think
what's new innovative purple?
Is he working for Aston Martin now? Something like that. He works for a car company now. But in any case,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, right. This show, the meta narrative is the reliance on one system of belief. I don't care. One system of belief could be dangerous, but the way the season ends up, Senku kind of had a direct counter to that because he sees Tsukasa. He sees him. He's meeting him where he is, but still says, we can't get this done without the science, man. We just can't do it. I know there's a world you foresee back before the petrifying that sucked in your view, but that doesn't mean like science and a better world can coexist. And I think that's what Senku's getting at is we can use science as a tool, but we can reshape the world as you saw it in the way that you want, more caring and collaborative. And that's Senku's whole thing, because Tsukasa he hated the world because of its hierarchy. He hated it because of people being, I don't know, from technical terms, shitheads. Like,
I was gonna say shitty.
Yeah, shitty, right. So, but that's what Senku's saying. Like, you can have both. You can have a reform while still using science. Like, one did not beget the other. Humans did, not the science, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of view it as Senku saying, like, that's not my area of expertise, but I want to be able to bring all this stuff back to the world and let humans decide. Like, that's the choice, but the fact that there isn't these things that we've accomplished over these long millennia of humanity.
Right.
And I can bring that back. We can bring that back.
Yeah, and to leave it to the wayside in the way that you want is a disservice to all of the work that came before us, right?
Exactly.
So he's not, that's exactly, he's like, we can have a different mentality about things, but the way we execute it is science. Don't know what else to tell you, buddy. Like,
remember, there was a scene near the end where they've got the dynamite, and he's talking about Noble who came up with it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, do you think he meant this to become a weapon or a tool? And he's like, I don't think he really cared, because he was able to use all the money that he got from that and create this science award that furthers science for generations to come. And that's still the Nobel Prize.
Right. And to a scientist, advancement. How it's utilized in society is more beyond them. The advancement happened. That's important.
I mean, there's word saying that, the guys who came up with the atomic bomb didn't necessarily know that they were going to use it on people.
Right. And when they saw what their advancement begot, like the destruction, I am death, destroyer of worlds. Like, that, like, literally in so much awe at what you did.
I think that's Oppenheimer.
Yeah. He's like, basically in so many words, oh shit.
He's like, oops.
Yeah. Gee dang, did not mean I was looking for an energy source, but people used it for a bomb. So, I mean, that's maybe where Senku and Tsukasa kind of didn't quite see eye to eye, is Senku sees science as advancement, but Tsukasa was so hung up on its societal result, right? And he didn't want that back. So this was a battle between those two things. But
I think they did a decent job of showing why he felt that way too, because his parents were just complete shit bags.
Yeah, they're actual
and
shit
like
bags.
He was just forced to fight from such a young age because that's the only way he could make money.
Right.
So okay, but he also hasn't really experienced much of the world, it seemed like. So it just seems like
very narrow-mindedness.
I mean, there's a lot to talk about him, and once again, we'll
get
leave
there.
it to
We'll
later.
get there.
But it's just like he's just such a baffling character to me, utterly befuddling.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted, before we brought him up, bring up the great trick in this season, where basically Senku said he's gonna make a cell phone. Holy shit, he kind of did, and like when he did do that, its application was a bit baffling, and I kind of sat with whether I actually liked that or not. He used the cell phone in his own fake grave at Tsukasa's campsite, had it buried there so people can hear the voice of I forgot her name, but
I'm Lillian Weinberg.
Lillian, that's it. And like basically saying America's good to go. The world is unpetrifying.
Which we probably are, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, #1 baby to the moon. And like I don't understand. I don't know if I like that or not. Like that's
what I was saying, is I didn't like that at all. I thought, like, yes, it had a slight chance of working, right? Because I do, like, obviously, if you're just some random citizen of Japan or really any country, and they say, oh, a big great power is back up and running and they're sending over battleships, like, you're instantly going to be like, okay,
right,
like, that doesn't sound so crazy.
And if you
like, say this happened in here and they said, oh, China's coming, they're going to come help,
dope. Yeah.
I'd be like, well,
yeah, but
then I'd be like, yeah, okay, I guess I believe it.
Two things, well, maybe three, but first and foremost, them being in the Empire of Might, no tech to speak of, and out of nowhere you have this like communication device. That in and of itself, to me, tracks because that adds the legitimacy. Why the fuck would that even be here if a great power wasn't up and running, right?
Yeah.
But also, why would it be there at all? That they haven't come yet. This is not American tech. This isn't like this isn't like a great power tech. It's just there.
No. So they were saying that Senku had built a radio transceiver and just happened to pick up U.S.
That's right.
airwaves.
Oh, okay, that's right. That
was their like story.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tsukasa's like, "Hey guys, I'm a freaking doctor physicist, so I know
no, they're not.
It couldn't possibly reach." It's like, okay, dude.
Jeez,
how do you know this isn't 5G, bro?
Yeah, dude. This is the future in this stone world, but 5G exists. Duh. Crazy. Two, the very fact, like not just the technology, but how other way would you be able to validate that? You know, you can be skeptical as you want to, but facts are facts. You just heard a radio transmission telling you in English that someone that you think you've heard this voice before. I'd be like, Bruno Mars here. America's cool. We're coming to help. Holy shit, that's Bruno Mars. All right, cool.
Who the fuck is Bruno Mars? Is probably what they're thinking.
Who the fuck is Bruno Mars? But yeah, so I mean, there would be no way to check, and I'm wondering if that lack of fact checking, I guess that just goes into number 3.
Well,
these people are just that hopeful, right? That the world
so
could go back.
So I think there would be hope, like definitely on Senku's side here. These guys aren't smart. They're supposed to be the big burly,
pretty
brawn
dumb.
type.
Pretty dumb, yeah.
Right? But then the problem is you have Tsukasa, who's a super genius and knows that it's impossible. So it's like,
oh shit,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it seems like such a low percentage play. And then they unfortunately even went as far as to say, if you had Hyuga and Tsukasa, they could take out literally everyone there.
Right.
So it's like, unless you get rid of one of those two, you're screwed from at any point. Until like dumb stuff happens at the end.
Yeah, the strategies here really they fell apart if either of those two individuals had more an active role. And if you noticed, they weren't really that active throughout this entire conflict. They captured Chrome and that's it.
Hey, when you're a king, you gotta chill.
You gotta chill. When you're
that's
a king,
what I learned from K, Project K or whatever.
Oh God, I missed. We gotta do an episode on that one. I love that show.
I'm rewatching it right now.
It's pretty good. But all things considered, I found it weird that they did not take a more active role. Even Hyoga, or whatever his name is, should have been more active in all of this. But they seem to be pretty laid back for them being, like, knowing they're in a war, right? The only obstacle in the entire world to stop them from reimagining a world as they see it, and they kind of just chill. That doesn't seem realistic for a super genius like Tsukasa to pull off, right? You would think he would have struck in early. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he really did have a good plan, right? Like anti-vehicle traps.
Wasn't bad, yeah.
And like leave Chrome as a
kind of bait.
As bait. What he couldn't have possibly understood is that Chrome was going to be like
kind of a G.
Actually smart, you know?
Yeah, right.
Use like actual science to his advantage. Because,
how do you escape again?
He basically used
salt water.
Yeah.
From sweat.
Hydroxychloride or something. He used
to melt the bamboo.
To melt the cellulose and the weed wrappings they did to combine all the
that's
bamboo.
And where was more of that science? That was one of my favorite parts. Like, that was cool. Being able to like.
My favorite part was the carbon shielding.
That was bad as hell, dude.
They make paper and then they just put like plastic in between each layer, which is funny because it's like, it's similar to like how, carbon fiber is made,
right.
Or
literally
ceramic matrix composites. All those things are made that way.
So the little science that we did get in here,
it was good stuff.
It was good stuff.
I didn't know shit about wobbler pistons.
I still don't know much about wobbler pistons.
I mean, it makes sense.
I know as much as Dr. Stone gave me. But yeah, I'm really, really hoping that they did set themselves up for really, really science heavy season 3, which is which is great.
Except I've got to say, so like of course, season 3, they're talking about going overseas.
Yeah.
Like, a boat is much easier to make than a fucking tank.
You already have a steam engine.
Right?
Like, you're already
we're
good to go.
good.
Yeah, right. So they've already overshot.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The science
It's like
level.
seems like it'd be too easy now, like reverting, unless they're gonna make like a legit like Ironclad.
They must have to, right? You're not talking about a river.
But why make an
like,
Ironclad?
There's
nobody out there to attack you.
It's more just endurance thing, right? If you're like, it needs to be something that can get there and back, or just there, right? But it has to make it all the way across. So an Ironclad style boat just for the endurance of a transatlantic or Pacific trip, right?
I'm wondering. So they showed a picture of like a normal frigate.
Yeah.
But I'm almost wondering if he doesn't make like a Titanic-esque like steamboat.
I think that he has all these people now. He has the might and the science now. I think he can make some bigger ass projects. But it wasn't so much that I'm curious about. It's the declaration of what he wanted to give Tsukasa at the end of this season that sets it up in a really big way, because they say, all right, we learned some new stuff about petrification that we can use to our advantage, but in order to use it, we need to be able to essentially solve the central problem to reverse all this. And that was not the declaration I was expecting to hear out of Senku. As a guy who's going step by step, that's just finish line now. Like,
I will say, one thing I thought I was really like kind of frustrated with, it was they kept saying this world can't sustain 7 billion people or whatever. And my question to them would be, do you think we're going to be able to revive all 7 billion people immediately? Like, we've got time to figure this out, dummies.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Him saying that, I'm like, that wasn't very scientific. That was very much a...
Well, because that was the Might team was saying all that, basically.
Right, okay,
That was their, like, reasoning why they wanted to pick selected few and stuff like that. And it's like, are you guys using your brains? You can't revive all of them. Even if you only revived everyone in Japan, what is that? Like 100 million max?
Maybe that, right?
I would be surprised if that was even close.
We can cut it to 50 and it's still an insane number, right? And that's the one thing that kind of got me pretty worked up, is like, you guys are actively not using your brains about the execution of this, it's weirdly a philosophy from a good place, but you are going way about it wrong. Like, way wrong. Selectively bringing people back online, that's cool. Breaking people down, that's bad. But, like, that's not great.
I will say, like, they gave Tsukasa a lot more, like, feeling this season, which I was actually kind of okay with.
I'm cool with that, too.
Knowing, like, all the names of all the people that died on the mission with Hyoga.
That was really cool.
Like, I was like, okay, he's a good leader at least. And then him remembering every place that he smashed like a human, I was like, damn, bro.
Yeah, like, this stuff doesn't weigh light on him, right? He knows what he's doing takes
like
real...
you said, somebody's got to play God, and I decided to take that burden on myself. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Wow. Yeah,
honestly...
They did a lot of work to flesh his character out. He did what I wish they would have done for, like, Rogoku and, like, the Demon Slayer stuff, because they gave him the screen presence to make, when the end of the season happened, I definitely felt sympathetic. And, like, I actually didn't want to see that character gone, now that I kind of understand more of his psyche, and that he understands that, like, almost kind of like Senku, his idea for a new world is not a light task. Like, this is a lofty, ambitious goal.
Yeah.
And he understands that. So...
Well, I think reviving his sister is going to provide, say he hadn't had his issues.
Right,
would have provided him with more grounding toward humanity, right?
Yes.
I think it's easier to think of yourself as this martyr and this, like, I'm just so above humanity in some regards, when you're just like an absolute freak and you don't have anything tying you to humanity.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And so I think that was a lot of his problems from like a just like pure character standpoint. Plus, like, being unable to save his sister all those years, and then now having potentially the power to save a bunch of people.
Right.
Right. I can understand how he got like slightly off track. What I don't understand is He's like the most flippy floppy guy on earth. Like,
and here's where his
yeah,
flaws
I mean,
come
we're just
out,
gonna
right?
jump in now. Basically, he comes out and he's like, "I'm sorry I betrayed you, Senku," and it's like, guys, he killed you.
He literally murdered you.
We should try to
with
pump
no
some
remorse.
brakes.
With no remorse.
And my question is, why the fuck did he do that when he needed him to revive his sister? Hello?
Right. And here's the thing, right, is that I think I was thinking about it, and all this sympathetic stuff, while it landed and it was well executed, it felt like not an afterthought, but for that particular arc for the Stone Wars, it was all in service of getting us to be sympathetic about him. Otherwise, he would have been that stone cold, methodical leader, like, Empire of Might King. But they were like, well, our plan for him is to be basically chronoed and saved using petrification, kind of the reverse order. So we need to, as a character in a narrative, we need to make him feel, now that he's going away from the screen, why would Senku give a shit? And they kind of slapped a little bit of this on.
So it did. Okay, it felt genuine. Like
it did. Yeah.
Like Senku clearly does like him.
Right.
I don't think that part really makes sense. He shouldn't. Like,
right.
The dude killed you. Like, let's just be let's be straight and narrow.
Say
here.
it louder for people in the back.
Tsukasa
killed your ass, dude. He broke your fucking neck.
Taiju's down again. He's like, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, everyone's just cool with him now.
Yurizuha chilling.
Yeah,
and Kohaku even. It's like, it just doesn't make sense how they just like all accepted him in so quickly after literally going to war with him, like literally an episode prior.
Right, and
I can understand like, maybe some of the connection that Senku and him have. Because they did, like, it was literally him, Senku, and Taiju, right? Like, starting this world together.
Yeah, and when you said Flippy Floppy, that was probably the best way to put it, because it felt as though, from a narrative standpoint, Tsukasa was the antagonist, the anti-hero, when they needed him to be certain things. They needed him to be cold-blooded, fucking kill Senku. They needed him to be sympathetic, they gave him a sister, and they made sure he remembered all the names. Like, the Flippy Floppy wasn't because they weren't thinking.
He's a ditto. He'll just transform into
just
whatever
they needed at the time. Everything else around him fit, but then he's kind of this weird glue to keep the things driving, because say you didn't have Tsukasa at all as a character, you almost have the show that you want, right? Is that straight survival science show. But does that land with everybody? Would it be a commercial success if that's all it was? You basically then would have like a cells at work situation. It's basically biology. It's basically just science. That's what you have. So,
I mean, I've watched every freaking survival show on YouTube.
And primitive technology?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, let's go. Yeah, no, I totally understand it. And that's our wheelhouse. But it's almost the kind of thing we were talking about lately with like Netflix animes, right? Is that kind of like the Yasuke, like if it was a straight story about him without any of the stuff that was added, we would be in for it, and we would agree that it'd be a subjectively, maybe objectively, a better show, but it wouldn't have wide appeal. Dr. Stone season 2 kind of felt like that. They wanted to give a little bit more robustness to it, and it worked here and there. I for better or worse, they gave it more of a human angle, but I think they realized it, because at the end of the season, we're back to mad science, baby. We have to be.
It just, one of the biggest struggles is when you make one side just have absolute freak of nature human beings.
Right.
Like any solution that doesn't involve killing them is gonna feel either empty or just like
contrived.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like Kohaku's insane, but she's no Tsukasa and she's no Hyoga. But they had samurai swords, which should absolutely obliterate their sword weapons. Like, come on.
They have every option to be able to just mow these people down.
They had a tank.
They had a tank. They had the gorilla car, the tank.
Which I have to say this. I can understand why they went from, they had the wooden wheels at first.
Yes.
Then they went to the NASA airless tire wheels, which were lit.
That's
and then they
awesome.
put the shitty tires back on later. I was like, why wouldn't you just stay with those so that when you ran over traps, you'd be chilling?
Yeah, you already had the design. Why would you backtrack? It's kind of what you were saying with the boat, too. You've already gone to carbon fiber and airless NASA level tech. Now we're gonna go back to a boat.
Those carbon like plates we could probably make.
We could
if
probably
all
make
we have
those.
to do is get a bunch of weeds, do the set. They literally Mecha Senku came up and told us how to do it at home.
Thank you, Mecha Senku. I was missing that, boy.
Yeah,
And
maybe I will.
Maybe, you know what, Mecha Senku? I think I will make carbon fiber in the home. But yes, I mean, in the end, we have.
Then we'll stab it with my sword over there.
Yes. Oh, hell yeah. We'll see if it actually works. So you have this antagonist that once he got more screen time, felt kind of this wishy-washy, was what he needed to be in the moments that were convenient kind of character. But I guess he did elevate the story to something cohesive. I mean, without him, you just have a, Project of the Week story. I don't know. But that's the funniest part, right? Is you just said they gave him these people absolute freak beast abilities and made them a hurdle to climb over, which is the most confusing part to me. Is rebuilding society not enough of a hurdle to keep the show interesting for multi-seasons, right? Why would you have to add him?
So I think, the good thing about him, them being there, the other side, is it gave them like essentially hardcore deadlines to finish technologies that were directly useful.
Ooh,
essentially
that's a good
just in time invention, so to speak.
Yep.
To try to solve exact issues they had. But you can get those with like bit by a snake. Well, we need to make an anti-venom ASAP.
And right there, right? You can write a myriad of ways. Like Ryu's sickness. Like Ryu. I keep forgetting names again.
I think she's Ruri.
Ruri? Okay.
Like Ruri.
Her illness,
pneumonia,
was a perfect example.
Exactly.
Because it did a couple of things. It proves science's legitimacy to these primitive folk. It made Senku not just valuable, but
it got him a wife.
It got him a wife, baby. Yeah, you got like a absolute smoke show wife,
and then divorced her immediately.
Which again, baller move.
Yeah,
real
honestly,
galaxy brain
what
play.
A beast.
And it basically it added a deadline in the context of the story that would make a lot of sense. It's a primitive world, and pneumonia is basically a huge fucking deal without the right medicine. And it was for hundreds of years up to when we finally got antibiotics.
Thousands,
if you will. Because I will.
Potentially millions.
Who's counting? I mean, who's counting? Dinosaur ammonia?
I heard. Yeah. This is just, through the Jurassic Park grapevine.
Oh, there's a grapevine for that?
I heard that a velociraptor died of pneumonia every second for the, year of...
Every second.
What is it? 97 million years ago?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
You could be saying anything right now. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, and they all got pneumonia.
Every second, huh? Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So now I know what they went extinct. So
yeah.
But
that's actually what happened.
It wasn't a meteor. It was pneumonia. I don't know what to tell you guys. You're learning stuff on the podcast. You're learning stuff in the lab. That's what we're here.
Do you want more wrinkles? Listen, damn it.
Keep listening. 3.5 wrinkles per episode on average. Mileage may vary. But
9 out of 10 dentists agree.
And that last one's an ass.
Honestly, it's because I stepped on his foot once in high school.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, that's all true.
Yeah.
But all that being said, you could write, the obstacles of not having society and, things that modern society we kind of take a little for granted, or not maybe for granted, but they just aren't as big of problems anymore, become life culture threatening issues. Like a small plague is a big deal then, but now we got everything we need for that. So what I see, Tsukasa, actually, it's not a challenge to be overcome. It's a challenge to philosophy, like we kind of started out. That's really kind of why he's there. The philosophy of science would go unchallenged, unmatched, no conflict there if he wasn't there. And it's just, science the fucking best. So without Tsukasa, you don't have that extra commentary on top of it.
Yeah, I don't view Senku as the type of character who's pushing like science as the solution to everything. That sounds so stupid, but
no, you're right though.
He seems to like have a reverence for science, but also not think it just solves every problem.
Because it isn't the answer, it is the mechanism by which you achieve the answer, which is harmonious, everyone benefits, right? and we all prosper because of science. Science itself isn't the prosperity.
It takes a village to make a adorable steam gorilla.
And banging ramen, I guess. I don't know, or ramen at all. But yeah, it really is all that. It is the vehicle by which prosperity and human benefit is achieved, where Tsukasa basically says, no, science in and of itself is the root of the problem. It is the problem. It's not the vehicle. But that's the thing. He thinks that if there would be no science, there'd be no shitty world that he grew up in, right? Maybe that's misconstrued. Like, maybe he's just not seeing what Senku sees, right?
No, I think his point was people are shitheads, and so they use science in bad ways.
Right.
I don't think he was saying science is the blame for this.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
He's just saying, now that there isn't science, I am the strongest human being, and I will make them be right.
Right.
Do the right thing.
And I think that's, again,
fair point.
Fair point, I guess. If you're basically the caveman Saitama of this world, then yeah, of course it's going to be crazy for you to want others to have more artificial power than that. But I think, he basically said people inherently suck, therefore science will be used to negative ends.
He's not wrong, though. That's true.
I guess that is true, but then if that is true, then Senku basically, but the logical end there, it's not a hard leap, that then let's just not use science for bad. Let's just not do that and still have everyone prosper, because that's what Senku's doing.
Yeah, I think the problem that arises, and this is what his point was, is if you revive a bunch of people that bring old world,
and this is why he was
mindset
selective,
back in, you're going to get the same kind of shit you used to have.
Right.
But if you can start it from new, you build it with this Ishigami village from scratch, you could potentially, like, he wasn't necessarily against science, Tsukasa, but
that's right.
What he was against was Senku's desire to bring everybody back. And he's like, we don't need that.
Gotcha. Right. But he seemed to turn his back on science in general, despite being this super...
I think that's the problem, right? He apparently is a super genius scientist, but
he
doesn't
make
use
this work.
any.
So the message it seemed to give off is that he thought it felt like he thought science was the vehicle for negativity.
There. I don't know what was going on.
So
with him.
that was a little confusing. Like, if you aren't turning your back on science, you just want to be more selective. That's fine, but then you're keeping people in a primitive kind of state forever. Why though?
Well, I think that's the downside of his philosophy, clearly, right? Is yes, you may be making things that end up hurting people at some point, but you're also making stuff that will save people's lives.
Yeah.
And so then the question is, okay, Mr. I want to play God. Which matters more? Never letting anyone die or never letting anyone live when they could have lived? Right.
And it's that right there is kind of it, right? You're seeing cracks in his philosophy, because it's really, he is...
Because remember, Byakuya was pissed and cried like a little baby when they were dying from simple pneumonia, right?
Right.
And they're like, we could have solved this in 5 days in modern time.
Exactly.
And the difference is Tsukasa hasn't dealt with that yet.
Yeah.
Like not being able to save somebody's life that could have been saved.
And I think that's where, if we're going to go forward with the show, I think that's where they have to take this now. It'd be a very powerful narrative weapon, where not just showing Tsukasa's philosophy breakdown in the face of some of these problems, which are a lot more readily available, right? Pneumonia is one of them, right? If you're willing to turn your back on science, you now face the problem only science can solve. What can you do there? What can you do? But I want to see that for Senku as well.
They did that this season.
There it is.
They had Hyoga steal his dynamite and go blow up the cave.
Right. So that's actually a different flavor. That's a different flavor. It's when is science being actually used negatively, which the sick irony there is he used violence with science, which is exactly what Tsukasa didn't want.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But the other thing is presented with a problem that science cannot solve. And what does Senku do?
Name one.
That's
name any problem science can't solve.
Oh shit. I'm on the spot here, man. I would say some kind of like infighting, like internal conflict within the Ishigami village. Like I would like when it's a much more human internal conflict problem. You can't science your way out of society's issues, right?
Yeah, I think what's going to be a struggle for them is when they start reviving. They revived a mangaka artist, which I thought was interesting.
That was pretty funny.
He's like, shit, I missed my deadline by 2,000 years.
Yeah, that was funny.
But, when they start reviving other types of scientists, right? Is there going to be dissent?
Right, right.
Some people, because that's what I deal with engineering all the time. Everyone thinks everyone else is a dipshit and that we're always like have the right answer.
Right.
It's just how it is.
What happens when you have, different scientists? Then you basically have different players in the power system. Right now we have one, maybe two users of that power system, which is just science. What happens when other people are up and at 'em?
That's what I'm wondering. That's going to be a big time conflict.
And you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have your wars and still have your science because you can have other people bring different sciences to the table.
What I think's going to happen is they're going to revive a bunch of scientists and they're going to like go create their own kingdoms too.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like a real
whose science is better.
Right, like who can launch into new centuries quicker and who can like redo all this stuff. Of course, Senku is like stupid smart.
Yeah, like
so like I'm not really sure who could possibly stand up to him.
Well, he's gonna. I know if that happens, he's gonna fight for collaboration because that is the heart of science, right?
Yeah.
You do something, you have a theory, you test it. If it works, other people have to test it, right? That's how it's got to go. But other people are gonna be like, "Nah, fuck you, Kingdom of Science 2.0. We're over here making." Whatever, right? Guns, like actual guns. And like, well, that's not what we wanted to try, but here we are.
Yeah, I just think he's at a really he's at a crazy advantage so far, time-wise.
Yes.
So unless somebody else has just like miraculously woken up as a scientist somewhere else.
That's fair.
Which is possible, of course.
That'd be a really easy twist, too. Imagine if like someone else made a boat.
What I really want is little pockets of places that either didn't die out or had not similar situations to Ishigami Village, but like for some reason people weren't petrified in certain spots, and then that still like existed. Of course, they don't have access to anything else because the internet, all that stuff, all died off. Of course,
right?
But maybe like a town that was able to keep their hydroelectric dam going or whatever.
And they'd still have the ability somehow to turn on some generators or something.
I just think it'd be cool because then they'd walk in and they'd
cool.
be like, yo, what the fuck?
What the fuck? You guys have cotton candy? What the fuck? What do you guys, is that a tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, we got to do it to them. Season 2, numbers-wise.
So it wasn't the 10 that season 1 was.
Season 1 was like mid to high 9s, for sure, in my book.
Easy 10 for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to give it 81. Maybe a little high, but I sat on the season a hot minute, and I think it used to be like a 75-ish, and I thought more about it. It has a lot to say. It's not as sciencey as I wanted, but it's got a lot more heart. So I think 81 is good. It's still very clean, very good time. Some good moments, but not as good as first season.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll give it an 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hate it a lot more than you.
8 Coca-Colas out of 10?
Yeah, eight Senku Colas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the biggest problem that I'm having, as I sit here is Tsukasa's just flippy floppiness seems like so ridiculous. And then him, like, if he was willing to just join Senku at any point as long as he helped him get his sister, it feels like that should have been mentioned like episode 3.
Yeah, that could have been
first season.
That could have
been.
So
we knew that was existed.
Yes, that could have acted as an engaging central pivot for the overall mission for the season 2, right? The war, that'd be a great subversion. War ends quickly because we kind of get Tsukasa's main overarching motive, and Senku's like, okay, ceasefire, I'm going to do this. It just happened way too late. Way too late for me.
Yeah, and I know they did it because they wanted to show that the regenerative. Oh, that's a tough word.
Regenerative.
Regenerative.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, regenerative abilities of the depetrification process. This is not an easy sentence.
It is not an easy sentence. They're not sensu beans, they're senku beans.
No, but like, so they had to show that Senku's neck is broken and then fixed.
Right. Which is cool.
Right, but that's the only reason that waking up his sister would even help her.
Right. And
so they had to show that, and the only way to do that is like not have him know about it and not have him just fix the problem originally.
Right. But for me, what really sold the season was very much at the Senku's declaration at the end, where basically Tsukasa gets stabbed, kind of protecting, is it Hyoga, I think? I don't know who. But
no, his sister Mirai.
That's right. From a spear, from Glasses Boy. Genku, I think his name is. No. Who's the guy with glasses?
He stopped him from Hyoga.
That's right. Hyoga stabbed and...
Or whatever that kid's name from Jujutsu Kaisen with the shit on his mouth because he looked identical.
Oh, a bento box kid?
Bento.
Bento?
Bonito flake.
Salmon.
Salmon roll.
Salmon roll. But yeah, so he gets stabbed. Like, okay, we're going to re-petrify you and then unpetrify you. But we don't know enough about petrification for that to work. So we got to figure this shit out. That's my declaration. We're going to solve the issue. Like, well, shit. Okay. Wow. That makes season 3 way more banging.
Yeah, but I think it's the same thing as season 1. In a lesser degree, season 2, right? They're trying to give him like a deadline.
Yes.
Because they can't leave this guy on ice forever.
Right. And that's how this show goes, right?
Right, which is fine.
No, that's the right way to do it. I just think they didn't do it enough or in the right ways that we're engaging here, right?
Now, all the shit I said about Tsukasa, I don't know how, but I still really care about the fucking guy.
Right.
And like, it made me feel for him like crazy.
Because they never even set him up to be like a megalomaniac. They never set him up to be sociopathic. He's just a guy with a very clear vision for how he wants the world to be and circumstances and the power to execute this plan. And it all tracked. He never was a bad guy. He was just overzealous in his very narrow-minded plan.
But it makes you think, what if he had just stayed with them to begin with? They'd gone
Right.
to Ishigami Village, they had essentially taken that over instantly, and then they'd be like way farther ahead.
Right. And I think that's just, did he really not know he was alive? Really? He
knew he was alive.
Yeah,
that's the weird thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There is that weird belief that like he doesn't know I'm alive yet. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
this guy supposedly has freaking Spidey
3,000
senses.
IQ. Yeah, like
he's literally using the Force right now to know that you're coming on with a tank. Like what?
Yeah, so you didn't even conceive that he was even alive, and yet you're already like 4D chessing our Senku's ass, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't track. So yeah, it gets some marks for some weird contrived story beats, but overall, I had a good time. It landed really well. I think, it hobbled through the middle of that season, but it landed on its 2 feet in the end.
I agree. The middle was rough.
Middle was rough, but
I'd say episode 4 to like 6 was pretty terrible.
It was pretty bad. When they finally got on campus of the Empire of Might, everything started to kind of lock into place. Yeah. So, I go watch it. Like, it's still a great show.
For sure.
Yeah.
Plus, season 3 seems like it's going to be exactly what I want.
Yes, they have all the tools. They got a slap in deadline. They have a good motive. They have Senku on their side and an entire new squad of muscle. So the project's just got bigger. He can be much more exhilarated. 10 billion% gonna be an Ironclad ship. That'd be dope.
I want a battleship.
I want a battleship. That's what I want.
Yeah. I don't know why you would do that. There's nobody to battle, but
just to fuck it up. Just to fuck it up. I want an airplane too. That'd be dope.
That's what I thought they were gonna build because I'm like, that seems like the logical step up.
Yeah, you can literally go up and see, right?
Yeah,
and you can go see where people are. Well, I don't know how the hell they'd power that.
He could figure it out.
Steam, or they can do like a hot air balloon.
They have dynamite. They can go down and get oil.
Damn, you're right. You're right. Let's build an airplane. Let's just us build an airplane. We could do that. We already
Fuck
it. Let's just build an airplane. We're gonna go do that though. But thank y'all for coming to class.
And until we crash into
I was gonna
a fiery grave next time.
Yeah, right. All links in the description. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Hello, YouTube gang. I do have all the videos rendered, Ethan, by the way.
Hell yeah, bro.
This coming week, it's gonna be like one a day. Just pop them out from like 103 on or 100 onward. Yeah, find us anywhere, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere in between. All other links of socials and stuff in the description of all the podcasts and the YouTube and everything like that. Want to give us a little Patreon love only if you can. Patreon.com/Weebology. $1 and up gets you into our Discord with all of our past fans and our patron guests. I mean, students. Whoops, fumbled that one. $3 and up gets you the syllabus sidebar. Our lo-fi, high vibe, sometimes anime, sometimes not, sometimes visual side content where we do things like play GeoGuessr, do tier lists, and talk about shit. Talk about shit and stuff and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we get to go build an airplane and crash right out of the sky.
Just absolutely flew too close to the sun.
And until we conclude that aviation nightmare, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ethan.
And this is Weebology. Deuces.
Terrible timing.
I know. Absolute deuces. I should hit you when you're mid-sip.